My name is Kale Veer, and I'm what you would call a soldier. In my language, the word translates closer to corrector, one who enforces order where chaos threatens to spread. I served the Dominion for 16 cycles before they assigned me to Earth, or what was left of it after the Purge. They told me humans were dangerous, unpredictable, a species that felt too much and thought too little, driven by emotions that made them violent and irrational. They showed us footage during training. Humans at war with each other. Humans destroying their own planet, creating weapons they could barely control. The instructors called them the infected species. Infected with feeling, with passion, with chaos that threatened the order we'd spent millennia building across the galaxy. I believed them. Why wouldn't I? The Dominion had never lied to me before. They'd given me purpose, structure, a place in the grand design of universal order. When Earth fell after 3 months of orbital siege, I felt nothing. It was just another correction, another world brought into compliance. 60 billion humans reduced to scattered survivors hiding in the ruins of their cities. The Dominion called it mercy. We could have glassed the entire planet in hours, but instead we gave them time to surrender, time to accept integration. They refused. Of course they refused. Humans always chose the hard way. My assignment was simple. Monitor Sector 7, a region that used to be called the American Midwest. Document survivor behavior, report resistance activity, ensure no organized threats emerged from the ruins. Standard occupation duty for a junior corrector. I arrived 3 weeks after the bombardment stopped, when the fires had mostly burned out and the ash had started to settle. The transport dropped me at Forward Station Echo, a prefabricated command post overlooking what used to be a human city. The structures were still standing, mostly, but empty, hollow, like looking at a skeleton and trying to remember what the flesh looked like. Commander Thelson briefed me in the observation deck. He was older, had been through 7 corrections before Earth, and he spoke about humans the way you discuss vermin. They hide well, he said, pointing at the thermal scans showing heat signatures in the underground tunnels. Like rodents. They know we can find them whenever we want, but they hide anyway. It's instinct for them. Fear response. He zoomed in on a cluster of signatures. Approximately 200 in that sector alone. Mostly non-combatants. Women, children, elderly. The fighters are deeper, in the old subway systems. They raid supply depots at night, hit automated patrols, then scatter. Classic guerrilla tactics. Predictable. I asked why we didn't just eliminate them. Thelson looked at me with something between amusement and pity. High Command wants them observed first. Psychological profiles, behavioral data. They're studying how humans cope with extinction. Academic interest, I suppose. Plus, the scattered groups aren't a real threat. Let them scavenge. Let them survive a little longer. Makes the data more interesting. He handed me a monitoring tablet. Your job is to watch, document, report anything unusual. Don't engage unless threatened. The scientists want them as undisturbed as possible, like animals in a reserve. That's what I thought they were at first. Animals. Smart animals, maybe, but animals nonetheless. I set up my observation post in what used to be a human dwelling. They called them houses, on the edge of the ruins. 3 stories, mostly intact, with a good view of the surrounding area. I installed monitoring equipment in the upper floor and settled in for what I assumed would be a boring assignment, watching frightened survivors slowly starve or freeze or give up. I'd been there for 2 days when I saw my first human up close. She came at dawn, moving through the rubble with a caution that looked practiced. Female, probably mid-20s in human years, wearing clothes that were too big for her frame, layers of fabric against the cold. She was carrying a bag and stopping every few meters to check her surroundings, head turning, listening. I watched through the scope, tracking her movement. She wasn't searching randomly. She had a destination, a purpose. She stopped at a collapsed building and started digging through the debris, moving chunks of concrete carefully, methodically. It took her almost an hour to uncover what she was looking for. A door to a basement level. She forced it open and disappeared inside. I should have reported it, should have logged the location and moved on. But I was curious. Humans were supposed to be panicked, desperate, barely functional. This one moved with intention, with a kind of careful determination that didn't match the profile we'd been given. I waited 3 hours. When she emerged, her bag was full, bulging with whatever she'd scavenged. She looked around again, that same careful scan, then started back the way she'd come. I followed her trajectory with long-range optics, watched her navigate through ruins like she'd memorized every safe path, every place to hide if she needed to. She disappeared into what looked like a drainage tunnel near the river. I marked the location but didn't report it. Told myself I'd observe a bit longer, gather more data before filing anything official. The truth was simpler. I wanted to know where she was going, what she was doing, why she moved like someone who still had something to live for when her entire species was dying. I started tracking them after that. Not just the woman. She was part of a group, maybe 30 people living in the old maintenance tunnels beneath the city. They'd made a home down there, or something like it. I found their entrance on the 3rd day and set up a remote sensor to monitor traffic. They moved in patterns, supply runs every 2 days, scouts checking the perimeter every morning and evening, someone always on watch at the tunnel entrance. They were organized, disciplined. Not what I'd expected from a species supposedly driven by emotion over reason. The woman's name was Freya. I learned that by intercepting their radio communications, short-range, encrypted, but our technology made their encryption look like children's codes. She was one of their scouts, along with 2 others, a male named David and another female named Chen. They spoke to each other in short, efficient sentences. Sector clear. Found supplies at the old pharmacy. Patrol passed 2 hours ago. Nothing wasted, nothing unnecessary, like soldiers, I realized. They were acting like soldiers, not survivors. The distinction felt important, though I couldn't explain why. I watched Freya make her runs for 2 weeks. Same route, same careful movement, same quiet competence. She never looked afraid. Cautious, yes, alert, but not afraid. I started noticing small things. The way she'd stop sometimes and just look at the sky, like she was memorizing it. The way she'd touch certain walls as she passed, fingers trailing over spray-painted words I couldn't read. Once I saw her stop at what used to be a playground. Just stand there looking at the rusted equipment for almost 10 minutes before moving on. Her face through the scope showed something I couldn't identify. Not sadness exactly, something else, something deeper. Commander Thelson asked for my reports and I gave them, but I edited them, left out details, made the humans sound more disorganized than they were, made their numbers seem smaller. Told myself it was because I wanted more time to observe, to gather complete data. But that was a lie. I was protecting them. I didn't understand why. They were the enemy, technically. The defeated enemy. But watching Freya navigate the ruins day after day, watching her group function with quiet efficiency in their underground shelter, something had shifted in me. They didn't seem infected. They seemed focused, determined, alive in a way I'd never seen before. The turning point came during the supply raid. I'd tracked Freya's group to an old warehouse district where automated Dominion supply depots delivered weekly shipments for our occupation forces. The humans had been hitting these depots for weeks, taking small amounts, never enough to trigger a major response. Smart. They knew taking too much would bring down real security. This night, Freya was with David and Chen, plus 3 others I didn't recognize. They moved in formation, covering each other, communicating with hand signals. Professional. They reached the depot, and Chen started bypassing the lock while the others maintained perimeter security. That's when the patrol drone appeared. Standard security sweep. Bad timing. Should have been on the other side of the sector, according to the schedule I'd seen. But there it was, rounding the corner, scanners active. Freya saw it first. Grabbed Chen, pulled her away from the depot door. The others scattered, finding cover. The drone's targeting laser swept the area. If it locked on any of them, they'd be dead in seconds. Dominion drones didn't take prisoners. I don't know why I did what I did next. My hand moved before my brain caught up. I triggered a system override code, sent a false all clear to the drone's command protocol. The drone paused, sensors recalibrating, confused by the contradictory data. Freya used the distraction. Grabbed something from her pack, looked like a human explosive, crude but effective, and threw it at the drone's sensor array. The explosion took out the drone's optics and navigation. It spun in place, confused, firing randomly. The humans were already running, disappearing into the ruins. Freya was last, stopped for 1 second to look back at where the drone was smoking and sparking. Then she was gone. I sat in my observation post, shaking, actual physical shaking. I just interfered with a Dominion security system, aided enemy combatants, committed treason by any definition that mattered. I should have reported myself, should have confessed, should have done a lot of things. Instead, I watched my monitors and waited to see if Freya made it back to the tunnels. She did. All of them did. I felt something in my chest, a sensation I couldn't name. Relief, maybe, or satisfaction, or something else entirely that my species didn't have words for because we weren't supposed to feel it. The order came down 5 weeks into my assignment. Priority transmission from High Command, encoded with authorization codes that meant no questions asked, no debate allowed. I read it 3 times, hoping the words would change. They didn't. Sector 7 is designated for final cleansing. All human survivors are to be eliminated within 72 hours. Correctors will execute order by any means necessary. No exceptions. No survivors. Confirm receipt and compliance. I confirmed receipt, didn't confirm compliance. Sat at my station staring at the screen, at the monitoring feeds, showing the tunnel entrance where Freya's group lived. 30 people, maybe more. I'd never gotten an exact count. Women, children, elderly like Commander Thelson had said, and fighters. People who'd survived 5 weeks of occupation by being smart and careful and organized. People who still went on supply runs and took turns on watch, and probably told stories at night to keep the fear away. People who were going to die in 3 days because High Command had decided observation time was over. Commander Thelson called a briefing that evening. 12 correctors assigned to Sector 7, plus orbital support if needed. The commander looked pleased, energized even. Finally getting to do real work, he said, pulling up tactical maps. The humans have 3 main clusters. Here, here, and here. We'll hit them simultaneously at dawn on execution day. The ones in the tunnels will be easiest. Flood the system with neural gas. They'll be unconscious in minutes, dead in 10, clean, efficient. The surface groups might scatter, but orbital tracking will locate them. By sunset, Sector 7 will be cleared. He smiled. Then we move to Sector 8 and repeat. High Command wants Earth pacified before the colonization fleet arrives. I asked why now. What changed? Thelson looked at me like I was stupid. The data collection is complete. The scientists have what they need. Now we move to the practical phase, removing the infestation so the planet can be properly utilized. This was always the plan, Kalevir. We just took our time getting here. He zoomed in on the tunnel system. Your sector has the largest concentration, approximately 40 humans total. You'll lead the assault team. Consider it a commendation opportunity. Execute the order properly and you'll receive advancement consideration. 40 humans. He was wrong about the number. My monitoring suggested closer to 50. But he wasn't wrong about what was going to happen to them. Neural gas in an enclosed space was exactly as efficient as he'd described. They'd never know what hit them, would just go to sleep and not wake up. Mercy, by Dominion standards. Better than orbital bombardment, better than most corrections. But standing in that briefing room listening to Thelson describe the execution timeline, all I could think about was Freya stopping in the ruins to look at the sky. Freya touching spray-painted words on walls. Freya standing in an abandoned playground with that expression I couldn't identify. I said yes. Said I understood. Said I'd prepare my team and execute the order as directed. Then I went back to my observation post and pulled up every file I had on Freya's group. Watched hours of footage. Tried to understand what I was feeling. The Dominion had trained me to suppress emotional responses, to prioritize order over individual attachment, to see correction as necessary rather than cruel. For 16 cycles it had worked. I'd executed orders without question, had watched worlds burn and felt nothing but satisfaction at a job completed. But now, watching Freya emerge from the tunnel for her evening supply run, watching her move through the ruins with that careful determination, I felt something else. I felt wrong. The order felt wrong. The execution felt wrong. The entire correction felt wrong in ways my training couldn't explain or justify. And worse, I felt angry. Angry at Commander Thelson for being pleased about the cleansing. Angry at High Command for treating 40 lives like a data point to be erased. Angry at myself for not seeing it sooner. For spending 5 weeks watching humans survive and still thinking of them as animals to be observed. They weren't animals. They were people. Not my people, not my species, but people nonetheless. And in 72 hours, they were going to die because I'd followed orders. Unless I didn't follow orders. The thought appeared fully formed, radical and terrifying. I could warn them, could give them time to scatter, to hide deeper, to at least have a chance. Or I could do more, could actively interfere, could sabotage the operation, could... What? Fight my own kind? Betray the Dominion? Throw away 16 cycles of service and everything I'd ever believed in for a species I'd been taught to fear? I watched Freya disappear into the tunnel. Watched David take his position at the entrance for evening watch. Watched the lights come on in the underground, dim, rationed, but there. Signs of life continuing despite everything. And I realized I'd already made my choice. Had made it weeks ago when I edited my reports. Had made it when I'd saved them from the drone. Had made it every time I'd watched Freya and felt that nameless thing in my chest that I was starting to understand was respect, or kinship, or something my species didn't have words for but humans probably did. I had 72 hours to figure out what to do about it. I spent the first day of the countdown doing reconnaissance I should have done weeks ago. Downloaded schematics of the tunnel system. Mapped every entrance and exit. Calculated gas dispersal patterns. Identified weaknesses in the Dominion's assault plan. Commander Thelson wanted simultaneous strikes at dawn, which meant his teams would need to be in position the night before. Standard doctrine. Predictable. The kind of predictability Freya's group had been exploiting for 5 weeks. If I could warn them, give them detailed information about the assault plan, they might be able to evade or at least buy themselves time. But warning them meant contact, meant revealing myself, meant crossing a line I couldn't uncross. The second day, I watched them have a funeral. One of the elderly had died, natural causes, not Dominion action. And they brought the body to the surface at night. dug a grave in the ruins of what looked like a park. Freya was there with most of the group, standing in a circle around the grave. Someone spoke words I couldn't hear clearly through my monitoring equipment. Others responded. They took turns putting dirt in the grave, each person adding a handful. A ritual I didn't understand but felt the weight of. When it was finished, they stood there for almost 20 minutes, silent, heads bowed. Then Freya spoke, her voice carrying in the night air. "We remember, we keep going. For everyone we've lost and everyone we'll lose. We keep going." They kept going, back to the tunnels, back to their routines. And I sat in my observation post understanding that I was watching something the Dominion would never see. They saw humans as infected with emotion, as if feeling was a disease that made them weak. But watching that funeral, watching them grieve together and then return to their survival tasks, I saw the opposite. The feeling wasn't their weakness, it was their strength. It bound them together, made them willing to risk everything for each other, made them keep going when any rational analysis would suggest surrender was the only logical choice. On the evening of the second day, I made my decision, downloaded every piece of intelligence I had on the assault plan onto a portable drive. Included guard rotations, assault team positions, timing, everything. Put it in a waterproof case and attached a note written in human English that I'd learned from intercepting their communications. Dawn attack in 18 hours. Tunnel entrance will be breached. Neural gas deployment. Evacuate immediately. Find deeper refuge. This is not a trick. A friend. I waited until midnight, put on my field kit, checked my sidearm even though I hoped I wouldn't need it, left the observation post, and moved through the ruins toward the tunnel entrance. David was on watch, sitting in a concealed position with a rifle that looked ancient by Dominion standards, but would still kill me if he was a good shot. I approached from an angle where he couldn't see me, got within 20 meters, then stepped into his sight line with my hands raised and empty. He saw me instantly, rifle up, aimed at my chest. He didn't fire, should have fired, but he hesitated, maybe confused about why a Dominion soldier was approaching alone and unarmed. I stood still, let him look at me. Then slowly, carefully, I placed the waterproof case on the ground and stepped back. "Information," I said in English, the word clumsy in my mouth. "You need. Please." David didn't lower the rifle, didn't speak, just stared at me like he was trying to decide if this was a trap. Then Freya appeared from the tunnel entrance, her own weapon raised. She looked at me, at the case, at David. "What is this?" she asked. Her voice was harder than it sounded on my monitors. Colder. Controlled anger barely held in check. "Warning," I said. "Attack coming. Dawn. You need to leave. Information in case. Plans. Details. Everything." Freya moved closer, keeping her weapon trained on me. "Why would you help us?" The question was sharp, suspicious, exactly what it should be. I didn't have a good answer. Didn't know how to explain 5 weeks of observation, and the slow realization that everything I'd been taught was wrong. "Because you deserve to survive," I said finally. "Because killing you is wrong. Because you're not what they told me you were." She studied me for a long moment. Then she nodded to David. He lowered his rifle slightly but didn't put it down. Freya picked up the case, opened it, pulled out the drive and the note. "Read it by flashlight." Her expression didn't change, but I saw her jaw tighten. "This is real?" she asked. "This is actually happening?" "Yes. 18 hours, maybe less. Commander wants your group eliminated. All sectors. You have to run." "Run where?" The anger in her voice was clear now. "They've been hurting us for weeks, watching us. There's nowhere left to run to that they can't find." She was right. I knew she was right. The Dominion's orbital tracking could locate them anywhere on the planet. Running would only delay the inevitable. But delay was better than immediate death. I don't know, I admitted. But staying here guarantees death. Running gives you a chance. Maybe small, but something. Freya looked at the data drive again, then at me. Why are you doing this? What do you get out of it? Nothing. I get nothing. I lose everything. That was true. The moment Thelson discovered my betrayal, I'd be executed. But watching you die for following orders would be worse. She didn't thank me, didn't smile or show gratitude, just nodded once, sharp and professional. If this is a trick, if you're setting us up, I'll kill you myself. Understand? I nodded. She turned to David. Get everyone up. Full evacuation. 10 minutes. David disappeared into the tunnel. Freya looked at me one more time. You should run too. Your people find out about this. You're dead. I know. Then why? I thought about the funeral, about her standing in the playground, about 5 weeks of watching humans survive with a determination that defied logic. Because you showed me what it means to be alive. Not just existing. Actually, alive. And people who are alive don't deserve to die for someone else's order. She held my gaze for a moment longer. Then she was gone, disappearing into the tunnel to wake her people and lead them into the dark. I stood there alone in the ruins, listening to the sounds of hurried movement below, knowing I'd just committed the greatest betrayal a corrector could commit, and feeling, for the first time in my life, like I'd finally done something right. I didn't go back to the observation post. Couldn't face those monitoring screens knowing what was about to happen. Instead, I found a position in the ruins with a clear view of the tunnel entrance and waited for dawn. Freya's group evacuated quickly, efficiently, disappearing into the deeper tunnel systems I'd mapped for them. 53 people total. I counted them as they left. More than Commander Thelson thought. More than my edited reports had suggested. The assault team arrived 30 minutes before dawn. 12 correctors in full combat gear, moving into position around the tunnel entrance with practiced precision. Commander Thelson was with them, directing placement, checking equipment. I watched through distance optics, saw them prepare the neural gas canisters, saw them set charges on the tunnel entrance. The breach happened exactly on schedule. Shaped charges blew the entrance, correctors moved in, gas canisters deployed. At 6 minutes, the first corrector emerged from the tunnel entrance, signaling confusion. More emerged. Radio chatter I could intercept. Sector clear, no contacts, no bodies, they're gone. Commander Thelson's voice, sharp with anger. Impossible! They were here yesterday. Thermal scans confirmed occupation. Find them. Thelson emerged from the tunnel entrance, pulled off his helmet, looked around the ruins. Then he touched his communicator. I couldn't hear the conversation, but I knew what it meant. He was reporting a security breach. His head turned toward my observation post. He knew, or suspected. My communicator activated with Thelson's voice, cold and controlled. Kael'Vir, report to my position immediately. That's an order. I didn't respond. He continued, you warned them. Don't deny it. You're the only one who could have. You've committed treason, and the penalty is execution. You can come voluntarily and die quickly, or we can hunt you down and make it slow. Your choice. I keyed my communicator. Commander Thelson, I'm not coming in. I'm not surrendering. You're right. I warned them, and I'd do it again. The words felt like cutting ties to everything I'd been. You want me, you'll have to come get me. Silence. Then, so be it. All units. Target is Kael'Vir, designated traitor. Location marked. Terminate with extreme prejudice. I dropped the communicator. Drew my sidearm. Checked the charge. The assault team would be here in minutes. I was one corrector against 12. In a position with limited cover, no support, no chance of survival. Every tactical assessment said I was already dead. But I was alive, actually alive. For the first time in 16 cycles, I was making a choice that meant something beyond following orders. The first assault team appeared at the end of the street. 4 correctors moving in formation, weapons ready. I fired first, dropped one before they found cover. The others returned fire, energy bolts turning rubble into slag. I moved, changed positions, fired again, hit another, but there were too many. A bolt caught my shoulder. Pain exploded through my arm. I switched hands, kept firing. Another team appeared from a different direction. They were flanking me. I was gonna die here. Then something impossible happened. Weapons fire from behind the assault team. Human weapons, distinctive sound. The correctors scattered, confused, caught between 2 threats. I saw figures moving through the ruins, Freya, David, Chen. Others from the group. They'd come back. They'd heard the firefight and come back instead of running. Fall back, Freya's voice, commanding. Cover fire. The humans opened up with everything they had. Freya appeared beside me, grabbed my functional arm. Can you run? I nodded. Then run. We've got a way out. Move. We ran. Through ruins, through tunnels, through passages that Freya navigated by memory, while humans laid down covering fire behind us. We ran until the sounds of fighting faded, ran until we reached a section of tunnel so deep and dark that even Dominion scanners would have trouble finding us. We all collapsed against the walls, breathing hard, alive. I looked at her. Why did you come back? You could have escaped. Should have escaped. She was checking my wound, applying a bandage from her pack. You saved us. Seemed fair to return the favor. Her hands were steady, efficient. Besides, you said something last night about us showing you what it means to be alive. Figured we'd show you the rest of it. The rest? She finished the bandage, looked at me. That being alive means not leaving people behind, means choosing to help even when it's dangerous, even when it costs you. She smiled, tired but real. You chose us. We chose you. That's how this works. I didn't understand. But sitting in that tunnel, surrounded by humans who'd risked their lives for a traitor from the species trying to exterminate them, I started to learn, started to feel what they felt. Started to understand that connection wasn't weakness, was maybe the most important thing in the universe, was maybe what it meant to be alive. We stayed in the deep tunnels for 3 months. The Dominion was hunting us actively now. Commander Thelson made it personal, broadcasting that I had to be captured or killed. The humans discussed what to do with me. Some wanted to use me for intelligence, others wanted me gone. Freya argued for keeping me. He saved us. Cost him everything to do it. We don't abandon people who've helped us. They voted. Democracy in action, even at the end of the world. The vote was close, but Freya's side won. I could stay. The wound in my shoulder wasn't healing right. Human medicine didn't work the same on my physiology. Infection set in on the 4th day, fever, disorientation. Freya sat with me while I shivered in the dark, applied cold compresses, rationed their limited antibiotics on someone who wasn't even their species. Why? I asked through the fever. Why waste resources on me? Because that's what people do, she said simply. Take care of each other. Doesn't matter if you're human or whatever you are. You're with us now. That makes you worth taking care of. Through the fever, I learned things about them. Freya had been a teacher before the invasion, elementary school. David had been a construction worker. Chen had been a nurse. They told stories at night about the world before, about cities that weren't ruins, about families that weren't dead, about futures they'd planned that would never happen. And they told stories about what they'd do if they survived. Freya wanted to rebuild a school, teach again. David wanted to build things, real things. Chen wanted to practice medicine properly. They talked about these impossible futures like they believed in them, like hope wasn't just denial. On the 6th day, my fever broke. You should have let me die. Would have been more efficient. Probably, Freya agreed. But we're not interested in efficient. We're interested in right. There's a difference. Your species, I said slowly. We were taught you were infected. Too emotional, too irrational, unable to govern yourselves. That's why correction was necessary. Freya laughed, bitter. And now your perfect order is exterminating us because we won't accept efficiency over humanity. She looked at me. What do you think now? After living with us, are we really the infected ones? I think we had it backwards. The Dominion believes emotion is infection. But watching you, living with you, I think emotion is what makes you strong. What holds you together. What makes you worth saving. And what does that make you? Corruption, weakness, failure of conditioning. I paused. But maybe it's actually evolution. Maybe it's becoming something better than what I was programmed to be. She smiled. Welcome to being alive, Kael'Vir. It's messy and complicated and usually painful. But it's better than the alternative. I believed her. For the first time in my life, I believed that chaos might be preferable to order. That feeling might be stronger than conditioning. That being alive might be worth more than being efficient. 3 months we stayed underground, moving from section to section, staying ahead of the patrols. The occupation was getting more aggressive. Sector by sector, they were executing their plan. But resistance was spreading. Other groups like Freya's, scattered across the planet. I provided intelligence, taught them about Dominion tactics and weaknesses. It wasn't enough to change the outcome, but it bought time, bought lives. The end came on a Tuesday morning, same day of the week as first contact. The Dominion launched their final offensive, coordinated strikes across all remaining human positions. Orbital bombardment combined with ground forces. Overwhelming firepower. We felt the strikes through the ground, deep vibrations that shook dust from the tunnel ceilings. Freya gathered everyone in the central chamber. 53 people had become 41. This is it, Freya said. Her voice was calm, steady. The Dominion's hitting every position simultaneously. We can't run this time. Nowhere left to run to. She looked around. We have 2 choices. Surrender and hope they keep their promise about preservation. Or fight. Go outstanding. Make them pay for every one of us. Someone asked what she wanted to do. Freya smiled. I want to teach again. Want to see kids learn to read. Want to have a future that isn't about surviving the next hour. She paused. But since we don't get what we want, I choose fighting. I choose making them remember us. Who's with me? Every hand went up. They looked at me. Freya asked, what about you, Kael'Vir? You've got no stake in this, not your species, not your fight. You could surrender. My choice is with you. All of you. I'd rather die as a person who chose than live as a corrector who followed orders. They armed me with a human rifle, taught me how to use it. We prepared for the assault, set charges, prepared ambush points. The assault came at noon. Dominion forces breached with overwhelming force. We fought, made them pay for every meter, fell back through prepared positions, lost people with every stand. David died holding a choke point. Chen died treating wounded. One by one, we died standing. Freya and I were the last, trapped in the deepest section, ammunition gone, bleeding from wounds that would kill us even if the Dominion didn't. The assault team was coming, their footsteps echoing through the tunnel. Freya looked at me, smiled through the blood. Not bad for a corrector turned traitor. Not bad for a human who wouldn't surrender. She laughed. Want to know something funny? I'm not afraid. Should be. But I'm not. Because we did it right. Fought the way we chose to fight. Died the way we chose to die. That matters. That has to matter. It does, I said, and meant it. This wasn't failure. This was success at being human, at being alive, at choosing until the last possible moment. The assault team appeared, Commander Thelson leading them. He looked at me, at Freya, at the bodies behind us. Such a waste. All this resistance for nothing. You couldn't win, never could win. Why fight? Freya answered. Because it mattered that we tried. Because our lives meant something more than your order. Because we were alive, and you're just existing. Thelson raised his weapon. So did I, even knowing my rifle was empty. Freya did the same. We stood together, human and former corrector, united by choice. Fire, Thelson said. The world exploded into pain and light, and then nothing. This recording is being transmitted on every frequency I can access. Human frequencies. Dominion frequencies. Signals sent into deep space. I don't know if anyone will hear it. But Freya taught me that trying matters. That bearing witness matters. I died in that tunnel 3 months ago. Or my body did. But somehow I'm still here. Consciousness uploaded to the Dominion's network during medical processing. They thought I might have intelligence value. Ironic. They gave me the digital immortality they'd offered humans. I exist now as data, and I've used that existence to infiltrate systems, to access files, to learn things they never wanted anyone to know. The human resistance isn't over. There are still pockets scattered across Earth, still people fighting, still survivors who refuse to surrender. The Dominion claims Earth is pacified. They're lying. Humanity is dying, yes, but dying loud, dying defiant. I learned other things too. I wasn't the only corrector to defect. Human infection has spread to others in the occupation force. The Dominion is more afraid than they'll admit, afraid that their perfect order is vulnerable to something as simple as watching humans be human, watching them choose. Freya died believing her death mattered. I've spent 3 months confirming she was right. Every Dominion soldier who watched humans fight and felt something. Every corrector who hesitated before following orders. Every moment someone chose defiance over obedience. Freya's death contributed to something the Dominion can't control. An idea. The idea that order without choice is slavery. That efficiency without empathy is death. That being alive means more than existing, means choosing even when choice costs everything. I don't know if humanity will survive. The numbers say they won't. But I know humanity has already won in ways the Dominion can't understand. Won by being themselves. By refusing to accept preservation at the cost of their humanity. By teaching people like me that there's more to existence than following orders. I'm transmitting this to the stars, to anyone who might listen, to any species that might encounter the Dominion and need to know there's an alternative. That chaos has value. That emotion isn't infection. That being alive is worth fighting for, even when fighting is futile. My name was Kael'Vir. I was a corrector for the Dominion. I spent 16 cycles enforcing order. Then I spent 3 months learning what it means to be alive from humans who refuse to surrender. They're dead now, almost all of them. But what they taught me isn't dead, can't die. Because ideas don't need bodies, just need someone to remember. Someone to ask the question they taught me to ask. What's the point of existing if you never choose to be alive? I'm asking that question to the universe, hoping someone hears it, hoping that somewhere, Someone learns what Freya and those 41 humans taught me. That fear can transform into respect. That respect can become kinship. That kinship can become something worth dying for. The Dominion calls humanity the infected species. Maybe they're right. Maybe spending time with humans does infects you with hope and defiance, and the understanding that order isn't the only thing worth pursuing. If that's the infection, I'm glad I caught it. Glad I spent 3 months being alive instead of just existing. Glad I made the choice that cost me everything and gave me something the Dominion can never understand. I found what it means to be alive, and it was worth it. End transmission.